Welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The Pen Leader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
Hello, and welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast. Today's show is called Betting on Yourself, the Journey to Independent Success. We're going to be talking and reflecting on the music industry, and I have with me Mr. Thaddeus Washington, who is a musician, creative entrepreneur, and founder with more than 25 years of experience in the music and performance industry. He is a graduate of Rogers High School and completed coursework at Bowling Green State University. So go Rams, Rogers, go Falcons, Bowling Green. Thaddeus currently serves as president of Mind Music Company, a mindfulness-driven music and wellness company operating under the Thad's World umbrella. Through this work, he blends music, creativity, intentional stillness, and support mental wellness, personal growth, and community healing. And as an artist, Thaddeus has released 9 albums to date, with more projects forthcoming. I have had the privilege of actually being part of listening in and sitting in on one of his live albums recordings. He has been honored to perform at the national anthem for multiple NBA teams. His career spans live performance, recording, and purpose-driven programming that reaches audiences of all ages. And above all, Thaddeus describes himself as a father, an overcomer, a child of God, and passionate creative giver. His mission is to use the gifts he has entrusted to him for music, creativity, and presence, and to serve others and create spaces for reflection, healing, and hope. So without further ado, welcome, Thaddeus.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know, I'm just amazed at just so much you've accomplished in your career so far. And again, NBA games, I was just actually at an NBA game recently, and it's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
To do the national anthem.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it could be a make or break on a career, and you've done this more than one time.
Sure, absolutely.
How do you handle stress like that when you're performing, live performance?
I think that I've learned right over time to kind of lean into it. I'm thankful for my background when it comes to music. It started in church. So when you talk about real stress, right? Growing up as a kid, playing drums in the basement at a church and jumping on and playing at inopportune times, you're dealing with the church mother, somebody, one of the deacons. Or a family member like, get off them drums, boy, get over here. You supposed like the stress that I've, come upon, whether it's a performance of a national anthem or in front of a crowd, I kind of lean into it now because compared to that, it's like it doesn't even compare. So.
Well, let's talk about some of those defining moments.
Sure.
When were those turning points that really shaped your journey as an artist?
Yeah, I think because I started focusing on, my artistry and career at that point around COVID time. Before then, it was musician. I always wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a professional musician. My child life was a little rough. My parents' divorce, it had a negative effect on me. So I struggled with anger and, a lot of different things that affected me growing up. But music was that constant. So as I grew up playing music and then realizing that I tried to do a lot of different other things, music was just that thing that it was a calling. So as I continued after college, forming a band, I had a band in BG and we would play at bars and clubs down there. And then from there, I was always in church, transitioning from that to going on the road and, playing for different artists and, right, not losing myself and staying true to who I am and my foundation, right, which leads back to my faith in God.
Well, when we talk about betting on yourself and independent success, can you talk about a moment when you bet on yourself? I have a number of entrepreneurs who are listening all over the world that really catch the show and are looking for those tidbits of like when you had to do perseverance and you bet on yourself, and especially when nothing's guaranteed, right?
Sure. Absolutely.
Can you talk about that moment when you had to do that?
Yeah, I think really being an independent artist, it's all betting on myself, right? I don't have any investors. There's no backing. I don't have, you know what I mean, like any mentors from the music space or anybody that's been behind me. It's really been me. Thank God for my brother Daryl D, as we call him. But that whole journey has been me betting on myself, figuring out, okay, you're going to focus on becoming an artist. You got to figure out how to put the music out, right? Like now, back in the day, people would historically, if you wanted to get music from your favorite artist or an artist, you go to the store, buy a CD or vinyl, you know what I mean, or listen to them on the radio. Now you got to figure out, how do you get the music out, right? Before that, investing in myself to build my own studio, because I did the studio time. Most artists are, you know, you got to find a studio to record, you got to find an engineer and all of that. But I took a bet on myself to teach myself those things. Me and D, you know what I mean, we figured out as a team. I'm a producer. I can record myself, and then we're doing all of those things in-house. The entire process has been a journey, but in betting on myself, that has been the focal point of everything. I am the investor. I'm the finance guy. You know what I mean? You got to play manager. You got to play booking agent, all of those things. It's a part of it.
Yeah, my soul entrepreneurs who tune into the show, they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're their own custodians, they're accounting.
Yes.
And I think there's something said about leading, you know, with purpose.
Absolutely.
And understanding that, you know, betting on yourself, you know, it's a sure bet if you keep putting the time in.
You got to stay consistent, stay the course.
That's right. That's right. So about creative, meaningful work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have been, like I said, privileged to hear you play. Knowing that you're creating, you play songs that other artists have done, but you also are creating your own original work.
Yeah.
You know, what does that look like to stay focused and in building a legacy?
I think for me, it comes down to the fact of understanding that what we create is not for us, right? It's for others. So whether it be one person, 2,000 people. So every time I have the opportunity, whether it's a live performance or I'm in the studio working out a concept, a song, I realize that this is not about me. I understand where my gifts come from. I'm nothing without God. God has given me the ability to be able to be blessed with these gifts, but then also to continue doing it, right? Every time I pick my guitar up or a melody comes in my mind and I can remember it till I can get to the guitar, turn my computer on and, you know, get into the DAW that I'm recording, I'm reminding myself that it's not about me, and I'm thankful and I'm grateful. It's the gratitude to be able to share, right? It's not about popularity or becoming famous. It's all about that gratitude for the gift, more so the giver of the gift, because God gives all gifts. So for me, that's the meaningfulness of the work that I'm blessed to do.
I think about in our local area, jazz is really coming back because there's places now being created that actually allow for that music to come back, and you can go somewhere and enjoy it.
Yeah.
How does jazz translate directly to leadership? And I know for those who are out there are trying to figure that out, they're like, wait a minute, how does music play a part in leadership? But it does.
Yeah.
What are the lessons that you've picked up on that would help?
When I think about jazz, I was having a conversation with Ramona Collins like last year.
Okay.
And I was asking her, like, what does jazz mean to you? Because growing up, I always thought jazz was these chords is played this way, it's that, and you heard all these different things. But she told me, you know, she was just sharing, like, it's improvisation, right? Mm-hmm. It's the creativity. And she said, real jazz came from the streets. You know what I mean? It's not what you read on the page or the paper. It's kind of going off and being able to pivot and being able to flow. So when I think about leadership and being a leader, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a leader of a company, you're a leader of your family, you got to be able to flow. You know, you got to be able to pivot. I think it's being flexible. And when I think about how that combines to music, when I think about jazz and just being open, it's like, hey, we're playing this line. And you're on, and you're holding down the bass, and you go here, you hold the one, and I go across to come right back. It's the same thing. So I just think about being flexible in improvisation, right? Because not every day is the same. Every day in business is not the same.
That's
every
right.
day as a leader, you know what I mean, it's not, you're not going to hit 100, but you got to be able to tell yourself, today that 100 is just me saying you did the best you could. I'm proud of you, right? And even if you're playing in the band or we're doing a set, you know what I mean, you hit a wrong chord, you got to turn that chord
That's right.
into, you know what I mean, like, hey,
Yes.
it's the next thing. And that off note is the thing that was the pivotal moment to make the piece. So I think that's important. and how those two collide.
I will say this for myself that I play a little bit for
Yeah.
those that know, just a little bit, just a little bit. I'm not out there. I'm not out there.
No, I heard you. I heard you.
So I'm very interested in like when you talk about that pivot, because we talk about pen leaders and having a plan and being straightforward with your plan, but there's going to be times that you need to make sure to take maybe even a priority needs to change. And you know, you have a family now, and
absolutely.
You have a budding young musician, I think, in your family.
Yes, he is. He's Harlem, my son. He's just amazing, superstar. I mean, he's everything. But when you talk about that, like for pivot, one thing I think about is, like I said, I've been a musician since I was 10. I started playing out and really playing professionally, if you want to call it, at the age of 17. But that was the goal, right? My dream was I just want to be a musician. I want to be able to travel and play for artists and do that. Well, you fast forward all the way till around COVID time, and, you know, God spoke to me about the pivot that I needed to make to focus on my own music. There's a difference in being a musician, playing in the band, and being the artist, being the main person, right? Naturally, I like to be behind the scenes. I like to push other people, right? I loved being the guitar player in the band, holding down my part. But there was a pivot that had to happen for me to focus and really assume the position of what it meant to be out front, be the main in my own, if you want to call it, band or building my artistry. And it started with the mindset, becoming a father, going from being a bachelor and just being me, right, to becoming a father. There was a lot of different priorities and different things that I had to shift. I still put out music while raising Harlem. I remember my fiance, Hayden, when she was pregnant, she's a nurse, and she was on a travel contract, and she was taking a contract up in Southfield. But while she was doing that, she would have to get up and be up at 6 every morning.
Oh.
So we're 6 a.m. She's got to get up, be to work by 7. We got a newborn. Harlem is 3 months old. We're traveling with everything there. I'm taking a mobile studio setup to the hotel. So, you know what I mean? Everything as we're traveling, we're doing this. There was a pivot that was happening. So I had to really shift my mindset. And I think it's all about the mindset, right? You have to really get there in your mind and prepare yourself for what's happening, because then everything else will line up. The things that you don't have, you feel like, well, I'm going to wait till I have all these things in place. You're never going to have everything in place.
That's right.
So the pivot, I believe, starts in the mind, and then the resources, you know what I mean, the individuals you need, it follows there.
It's interesting you say this, because even being, and I talked to a number of entrepreneurs who are doing the frontline work. They did the frontline work for a number of years, and then they started thinking about, like, well, maybe I should own my own business. And there is a mind shift right there from being the front. Now you are operating a business.
Yes.
And I stress to anyone who's out there, you got to have a plan.
Absolutely.
And work that plan that work and work that plan. And one of the biggest downfalls you see in some leaders is that they want to apply all that hard work. Well, if I just keep doing the grind in the front end, then I can apply that to the entrepreneurship side and own the business, and it will get me where I want to go. And that's not how entrepreneurship works.
Absolutely.
And it's not the most successful. The ones, and I say this actually in the book, my most effective leaders, the millionaires, the billionaires that I've interviewed, they started off and they did the grind, but then they knew, I'm going to have others believe in what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
I can't do it by myself.
Not at all.
And I see that you're working, I think you have a support network that you've built.
Absolutely.
You've cultivated.
Definitely. Yeah, it's everything, because I believe true leadership is not about you, right? It's about who can you impact. Your vision has to be bigger than you. When your vision is big enough that other people can see themselves in it, even if it's the smallest part or doing something, whether it be your assistant or somebody being able to, you know what I mean, just have conversation with you to consult you on different things, that's when it's something real, right? And you have to, you know, you need character there, you need dependability, and it starts with yourself, right? Those are important keys that I believe that fit within that ecosystem when you're trying to build and you're pivoting You know what I mean? You're becoming a leader. You're talking about vision and building a team. You need, honestly, ego. I read a book called Ego is the Enemy, but just realizing that it's not about you, right? Like I remind myself daily that at the end of the day, yeah, I'm in this position and I'm blessed to be where I am, but everybody that I'm working with, and although my team is very small, I want to treat them with the utmost respect.
Yes.
I want to show gratitude, give grace, right? Be kind. Compassion, those things are important.
I can't stress enough about that care component on exhibiting care with your team, with your clients, with your customers, those that are out there that are depending on you.
Yes.
And believe in the vision and the mission. And there's something said about when others don't believe in what you're doing anymore, and you can tell when it's time to move on.
Absolutely,
it's time to move on. So now I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
I should be asking instead of what are you reading, what are you watching, what are you listening to? Maybe that's what I should ask you. But what do you read and what do you watch?
So I watch a lot of documentaries because I like real, stories. I love stories. And now at this point in my life, because I was raised in Christian home, right? Very religious, thankful for my upbringing, but I wasn't allowed to listen to any music besides gospel growing up. So like I'm 36, about to be 37, but I'm still, and I'll never stop learning, but there's a lot of music. A lot of people hear me and they're like, man, you ever heard blah, blah, blah? You heard this? When I did the national anthems, I always remember I hadn't listened to Jimi Hendrix do the national anthem till after I had performed it.
Oh, wow.
Because, I just didn't have that background. But now I love watching a lot of documentaries on music or autobiographies on people's stories. And what I'm reading, read a lot of books, but now I'm in my Bible, like really. And I say that because we read a lot of self-help books. We like to read a lot of books on finance and personal development. But I believe the Bible is the only book that culminates all of those things, right? And no matter whether you need help on relationships, you need help on integrity, like self-worth, it's all there. So I've been spending a lot of time there, just growing there because my faith is a big part of my life, right? It's the biggest part. And just want to build myself there and, always looking for new things outside of there. But that's been my focus. And that's kind of what I've been watching, kind of really cutting back on a lot of the other stuff, a lot of binge watching shows and all of that. So it's documentaries and just really diving into the word.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, actually, advisement for those that are out there saying, I can't get to the book. What's the latest books? There's some old time books that are still out there that are still very relevant.
You better know it.
Absolutely. And so you can always pick up those pages too.
Absolutely.
I think that for those of the readers that are reading multiple books at the same time, yes, definitely. And I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and just sharing your experience and how that really ties and how this is moving you forward in such a successful way. And I am really so glad to watch your career just take off and do great things and how you spread that out and encourage others. So
thank you. I appreciate you for having me, and I'm excited to continue just getting to know you, learning more about you. I love the things that I've learned. We were having a brief conversation before we got started, and it's inspiring. So I wish you nothing but great success in all that you're doing, and Godspeed. And thank you again for having me. It's been my pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you to our listeners. And I'd also like to thank our sponsors, Mr. Brian Davis. For all of your home, auto, or life insurance needs, contact Brian Davis at State Farm. Like a good neighbor, Brian is there. We'd also like to thank their sponsor, Maine Intelligence Network. Come be a part of a focused network of entrepreneurs, leaders, executives, and authors committed to sharpening leadership and strategy while scaling ventures with intention. This is a place where practical thinking meets high-caliber connection. Check out the Maine at www.mainsassociatesltd.com. Select Maine on the homepage to learn more and sign up for how you can get connected. And of course, until next time.
The Pen Leader podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Mays & Associates Ltd., creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Pen Leader podcast and share with others.